Back in 2015, Plaid Hat Games released their new expandable card game, Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn. This game revolved around Phoenixborn, who were sort of people destined to fight in combat, sort of a Highlander-style thing. But the mechanics of the game pretty much was a card game where you'd have set decks you could buy with expansions, all of them revolving around a certain Phoenixborn that you could use with different abilities, and also dice you'd roll, in essence, to gain energy and play different card or card abilities. Well, they have just announced that they are releasing the final decks, so this is the end of the card game, end of the era, but there is also a tournament to help celebrate the final hurrah of this Phoenix flight. We did play when it originally came out, and I do have the core set and a couple of the expansion decks, not all of them, because they sort of just fell to the wayside a little bit for me. I think that's actually part of the problems is definitely with card games. If you don't build enough steam, which is my guess what happened with this, it just sort of dwindles.
Yeah, I think that falling to the wayside is what happened to this game for a lot of players and for Plaid Hat themselves, where I feel like when it came out, it felt like there was more of a push behind it, but as time went on, the expansions seemed to be more and more infrequent, and I didn't feel like they were really focusing on it as much as a product, which is kind of a shame because it was a rather fun system. I think we both did enjoy playing it a fair bit, even though it didn't, like you said, I think it's just hard to, you can only keep up with so many games that have release schedules like that.
Well, I think the two big issues is one, you say it's hard to keep up with games, but when you throw in a card game, like that's so much harder. And then, if you follow a card game, like a board game, let's say there's a lot, but like I can buy Wingspan, and then, I buy the newest Mansions of Madness game, whatever. But if I have Ashes, if I'm already playing into Magic or another card game, it's a little hard because they eat up resources so much more.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a little easier with Ashes since it's more in the LCG style as opposed to being collectible. Remind me, because I don't remember, could you actually build your own decks, or was it solely pre-made decks in Ashes?
No, you built your own decks. They gave you pre-made decks, and I think that actually one of the problems is their release of Ashes was too small. I mean, look at any of the card games from Fantasy Flight. Those packs come out really fast. You have a huge selection of cards to mess with. If you don't release
they don't let
cards,
up on them.
Yeah, if you don't, one, that keeps your attention on it. But two, if you don't have a big enough card pool, it's like, all right, this is the winning deck.
Yeah, and I wonder if it was simply it wasn't selling well enough, so they didn't make as many cards, or if they just didn't have the people who wanted to make them.
I think it was a negative feedback loop, as you said. Not enough cards and not enough people playing it, and then they print less cards because not enough people are playing it.
Right. I will say this is my own selfish opinion, and I think maybe you will agree with me to some extent, is the way that I consume and collect card games, part of me, assuming that they continue to at least keep the existing expansions and the base set in print, I do kind of like the fact that now it's possible to get a complete set of the cards and not feel like you're missing out, that you have to keep looking for the next expansion.
I mean, that's why I think the LCG, I love that format. I don't have to buy packs of cards. Granted, even if they still come out as fast as Fantasy Flight is, you don't have to worry like, oh man, am I going to miss out? You're like, nah, I can get the pack when I want to.
Right, and as they point out in the press release, the final expansions have characters that come with, quote, the final combination of dice from all 6 types of magic. So it feels like it does feel like kind of a complete circle, that there's not any big gaps that it's a shame they missed out on releasing. So, I mean, I think that there's something nice about that, and it would be nice if they would come out with some kind of a big box final set for this, but I don't think they will, because it just sounds like it's not worth it for them. It's not selling well enough.
Yeah, I think that is the case. Unlike Millennium Blades, I think Level 99's games did very well. That's why we have a big box for Millennium Blades and I'm totally blanking, BattleCon, because I think
and Pixel Tactics and several other
I will
titles.
say though, I don't think they should drop the IP. I think these character designs are really cool. In particular, like these two new guys. I love the look of this Grave King. I don't know if you're looking at the images right now.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
I think he looks really awesome, and I think you could still do some cool stuff. I just think, obviously the way the card game worked, maybe because the dice were too random to really get. I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to the tournament scene lately and see what people are saying, but I think you could still do some cool stuff and maybe focus more on the story of the world. Because we've mentioned multiple Plaid Hat games have done very well in that area.
Yeah, I agree. That would be great if they would continue it some way, maybe even adapt it to a totally different board game, a standalone game.
And, with the characters, I think they already have the next where they should adapt it, a Crossroads game.
Right. Yeah, something like that along the lines of Dead of Winter or even or Gen 7. Yeah, who knows? Something like that could be cool. I think it's also worth pointing out, by the way, that about a week before this, Plaid Hat made an announcement relating to another game that they have called Guardians, and they had an expansion scheduled for release, and they announced that it is now not going to be released until 2020. It has been pushed beyond this entire year, and they did not give a reason why. But it sounds like between that and this, maybe they were kind of cleaning house a little bit on some of their games that aren't hitting the margins they want them to. It could be a bad sign, or could not mean as much as we think.
I mean, I think it's a bad sign if you're a fan of Ashes, regardless.
Right, but for the company,
I think it's actually, if depending on how they do it, like I said, I think it could be for the better. If a game's not selling well, that's what just happens. At least they complete the set of Weird Mixture cards, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they continue to print them for at least another few years so that people who want to play the game can, but I would suggest that if you're listening to this and you're interested and you haven't picked one up, you probably should do so in the near future, because who knows, that you might not be able to for much longer. And definitely talk to us in the comments if you're someone who is a big Ashes fan and you're super disappointed about this, and what your thoughts are on it. If you're a tournament player, if you maybe the tournament scene of if in any way could survive after this, or what you think about Plaid Hat games and their status in general.
I hope this Phoenix will rise from the ashes of this game into a new property.
Nice.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit. Hey, if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more excellent board game content.
Heck yeah!